so you're going to inside broadcast now, and then you can preview your stream. One thing I can do is, I wonder if Zype like showed me people. It says you're live.
I'm live where?
On YouTube right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Why don't I see that?
I don't know. I just got a notification.
Hold on, folks. La-da-dee, la-da-da. What will be, will be. All right.
I just got a notification.
I see 2 people. Hold on. 5 people. This is like NASA space shuttle. Hold on. All right, I guess I'm live. It's a bit delayed, but we're going to go anyway. Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Can you email the people I just told you to email from this internal thing we're using?
I sure will.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, folks. Jordan Chariton with Jordan Chariton. It is Thursday, April 5th. Can't lie. It's been a bit of a difficult day for me. I have a cold, so I'm playing a little bit hurt. So I hope you will stick with me as I barrel through what I hope will be a very riveting hour of YouTube. I have been trying to figure out things on the technological end. We're trying to broadcast on YouTube. We're trying to broadcast on Facebook at the same time. We're trying to broadcast on Periscope at the same time. And we have failed, to put it lightly. We have been having technical difficulties. So I will be just on YouTube today, but press the share button so we can get this out to more people. I've noticed a lot of people on YouTube telling me that they're not getting notifications, telling me that they're not seeing my videos in their actual feed. And there's been a lot of that going. You posted the last video where you didn't realize you were live. Yes, I'm aware. I hope I didn't curse or say anything inappropriate. But apparently, YouTube made this change, but decided not to tell anyone. So it's not enough now to just press the subscribe button. Just because you press the subscribe button doesn't mean you're going to get my videos in your subscription feed. Can you believe that? So it doesn't matter if just pressing the subscribe button doesn't mean you're going to see my videos in your feed. You have to press the subscribe button and you have to click the bell. So the subscribe button should be to subscribe and get the videos in your subscriber feed. And the notification bell is so you get notified when a channel you subscribe to has posted a video or went live. Apparently, YouTube, in whatever shenanigans they're doing these days, is making it where not only subscribe, but you have to click the bell just to get the videos in your feed. So definitely, all of you, next to the subscribe button, click the bell. Make sure you click the bell. I'm going to remind you throughout the broadcast. I'm also going to remind you throughout the broadcast that we are trying to gain funding for our new media network that we're trying to launch. I've been having conversations behind the scenes with potential people that might be able to help us with technology, with social media, with a lot of different things. So Jen is going to put in the Patreon link throughout the broadcast. Something funky is going on with the Patreon link sometimes, that when we put in the Patreon link into the chat, you're getting a 404 error. I don't know. I'm good at exposing corruption. I'm not good at technology. So when we put the link in, if it's not working, if it's giving you a 404, just type in patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. That's patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. Let's see what we have right now. Patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. So right now we have 173 patrons, at $948 pledged a month. And if you're not aware, because I've only been saying it a few times, we are going to make my patron, we're going to change it over to the network's patron once we launch. And that network, let me tell you something, we are working hard. And Jen has had to listen to me bitch and moan all day because I'm sick, I'm agitated, and sick and agitated. So, I mean, there's people starving and dying in Yemen, so I don't have it so bad. And, you know, there's families that recently lost their children due to being the gun terrorism in this country. So I try when I complain to put things in perspective, but we really, really want your support. We want to be funded by you, the viewer, nobody else. So if you have $2 a month, if you have $5 a month, $10 a month, patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. Alexis Anderson says, even subscribe and bell aren't enough to always get notifications. And then sometimes you magically get unsubscribed. You know, Alexis, I have a moral dilemma, Alexis. Let me know what you think about this. Deep, deep in my soul, I really want to just fucking rant against YouTube and just fucking burn down the gates against YouTube. But there was just a shooting at YouTube the other day. And fortunately, the only person who died was the shooter, a female shooter. I do believe that one was seriously hurt, but there were no other deaths. Shocker, she used a handgun, not an AR-15, and only she died. I digress. But I really would love to go off on YouTube right now, but I'm going to wait till next week. I think there needs to be a little bit of a grace period after a shooting where you don't attack the company. What do you think, Alexis? Rant away, my Bruda? I might, because I don't feel well. By the way, I was at physical therapy. I'll get to the stories in a minute, but I just want to shoot the shit for a minute. I was at physical therapy earlier today, and I have like a really bad cold. Like I've been sneezing for like a month. My throat hurts. If you see, like I've been sweating. I don't know if I'm like sick or have a cold or have sinus infection. I don't know. I just picked up antibiotics today, and I don't even like taking antibiotics because they're not good for you long term. They really screw up your stomach, and I'm already a little constipated if I'm keeping it real. I try to keep it real, even when I'm TMI. However, clickety-clack that like button, people. It might be allergies. That's true. That's true. I'm hoping I just started the Z-Pack today, so I'm hoping it's the Z-Pack. I'm also hoping that after I go live, me ordering my favorite cuisine, it's called Empanada Mama. Empanada Mama. Delicious empanadas in New York City. I'm hoping drinking bougie Fiji water, and they're not paying me, so that's free advertising. I'm hoping drinking a lot of Fiji, having empanadas, getting to sleep around 10 o'clock will work for a few days. But Clifton Hicks says drink more water. I agree. So I'm about to get to the first story, but I want to make something clear, folks. I cannot get back in the field without you. And I cannot launch a media revolution without you. You are the ones that are going to keep us independent. You are the ones that are going to fund us so that we could get more camera people, so we could get editors, so we could get other reporters, which I don't want to just have a company where I'm the only person getting out there and doing the damn thing in the field. I want to have an army around me. So I need you to get me there. Right now we got 173 patrons. I think we can get to 200 by tomorrow. All 37 of us, yeah. But that's the thing, Jason. Either suddenly the progressive industry suddenly didn't want my reporting, or the majority of people aren't seeing my feed. So it could be the first one. I mean, sometimes people could grow tired of someone, but I don't think so because, it's interesting. When I came back on this channel, I was getting around 150 to 200 live viewers. And now the last few days, I'm getting like 53 live or 75 live or 100 live. And as Jen, my business partner, could tell you, we were growing really, really fast in subscribers. And then all of a sudden, I did a video on criticizing YouTube for suppressing our ability to buy ads. They were rejecting us when we just attempted to buy ads. They said a video about water contamination was shocking content. A video titled Jordan updates after his back surgery was denied. Shocking content. After I did that video, all of a sudden, everything fell off a cliff. Views, subscribers, live viewers, the whole nine. So either nobody likes me or reporting about either nobody wants reporting on the disappearing middle class, environmental genocide, police brutality, state and local corruption, the Democratic Party being a bunch of spineless frauds, or something fishy's going on. But I'm not going to rant against YouTube because it was just a shooting and there's a grace period. So I will return to my regular scheduled program and ranting against YouTube next week. Thank you very much. But you could do your part. Definitely press the share button and definitely check out the Patreon. So I saw a tweet today that I thought that really got me angry. And I already know that our country is corrupt. I already know that this country is an oligarchy built on greed. But they're not even hiding it anymore. The corporations, they don't give a damn. They're not hiding it. There's a real Gordon Gekko on steroids thing going on in America now. It was happening before Trump. It's happening with Trump. So McDonald's, which I'm not going to lie to you, when I was on the road for TYT and when I get back on the road, I mean, I like McDonald's chicken nuggets. It's terrible for you. It's probably why I'm ill. But I like me some McDonald's chicken nuggets with barbecue sauce. I liked it since I was 6 years old when Mama Sheridan, when I got a A- or a B+ on my report card, would take me to the McDonald's drive-thru as a reward, and she would get me. I started with 10-piece chicken nuggets, but then I went up to 20-piece chicken nuggets. So I ain't proud of it. It's probably why I have stomach problems, but I've had a lot of McDonald's chicken nuggets in my life. But if I would have known then that those McDonald's chicken nuggets were enriching, not its workers, not the people who actually make the chicken nuggets and sweep the floors and serve the customers, but it's greedy CEO, I might have not had those chicken nuggets. Nuggets are fake food. I agree. Now, take a look at this. McDonald's CEO Easterbrook sees pay package nearly double to $15.4 million. McDonald's CEO Steve Easterbrook's total compensation nearly doubled to $15.4 million last year, his second full year in the top job, according to the Securities and Exchange Commission filing Thursday. Easterbrook received a base salary of about $1.3 million last year, up from just over $1 million in 2015. The value of his stock awards jumped to $5.1 million, up from $2.9 million the year before, and the value of his stock options awards rose to $3.9 million from $2.1 million the year before. His performance-based bonus shot up to $4.6 million from $1.5 million in 2015. And the value of his perks rose to $523,665 from $341,301 a year earlier. The executive received perks including a car allowance, security, life insurance, and financial planning, matching charitable contributions and use of the company aircraft, including for personal trips. Easterbrook has been widely credited with setting the world's largest burger chain, if you want to call those burgers, on a path to growth after several challenging years. Through the introduction of promotions like all-day breakfast, what a genius he is. He came up with all-day breakfast and putting a renewed emphasis on food quality and taste. But the U.S. market, McDonald's largest, is in decline as the company has failed to lure more customers into the restaurants. Executives said last month that McDonald's has lost an estimated 500 million customer transactions in the U.S. market since 2012, when it first started phasing out the dollar menu. Most of those losses have to so-called better burger rivals like Five Guys and Shake Shack, but to closer rivals like Wendy's. It is acknowledged that its latest attempt at a value meal, McPick 2, failed in part because some combinations were too expensive. I don't know how it's possible. If McDonald's isn't doing as well as it used to, how is the CEO's salary going up double to $15.4 million? How is that happening in this country? I remember interviewing a woman in Alabama last year. It was a Burger King worker. And I was interviewing her in front, not of a Burger King, but in front of, I forget what the restaurant was, another burger joint. And she was a young woman, African American, making $7 and I believe $7.40 an hour. She was visibly thin to the point of unhealthily skin. She told me if she's lucky, she eats 1.5 meals a day. She told me she has to choose between food for the week or medication. She can't go get better education because she has to work 3 jobs, and that is at Burger King, which makes pretty much the same disgusting profit for its CEOs as McDonald's does. Morgan Wellborn says psychopaths never have enough money. I agree. Jewelry Nala says workers get crushed, CEOs get a bigger yacht. And boy, is that yacht growing, folks. Is that yacht growing. Now, because we have no laws in America that actually are there for people, the laws are for corporate CEOs. The laws are for corporate executives. The laws are for lobbyists. The laws are for bankers. The laws are for big pharma. The laws are for big oil. The laws are for Silicon Valley and McDonald's CEOs, because McDonald's CEO, they give a lot of money to the politicians. And who cares if they're workers all over the U.S. and frankly the world, but we're just talking about the U.S. now. Who cares if they're starving? Who cares if they can't feed their family? Who cares? I get my yacht. I get my stock options. It's vile. It's truly, truly vile. And press the share button so we can get this out to more people. It's vile when you have, I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not against like people doing well. I'd like to do well. I'd like enough money to have a nice house and, feed my kids if I ever have any, and go on a vacation from time to time. But at a certain point, as a human, you either care that other people could live or you don't care that other people can live. And I've spoken with older people that like came up in the 1950s and 60s. And the main difference between the 1950s and 1960s, besides the fact that we had rules that governed so you couldn't have endless amount of money in politics, you couldn't have politicians being crazily bought off, you had strong labor unions in the 1950s and 60s, you had CEOs made about, 10 to 15 times more their worker. Now they make 300 to 350 times their common worker. In what society is that okay? In what society is that an equal democracy? That is an oligarchy. This isn't a democracy. This is not a society where we all have equal opportunity. And majority of the time, it was African Americans and Latinos and Native Americans that didn't have the equal opportunity. But now it's a whole lot of white folk too. You see a lot of white people working at McDonald's too, because it's not just white, black, brown, Native anymore. It's poor. And there's no way to get out of that poverty because our politicians have created the laws that keep people in poverty and keep people struggling. And then you know what else happens? When McDonald's CEO, his salary goes up double and his worker remains, I'm about to tell you the average salary, but his worker remains at a starvation wage, you know what happens? Those workers then have to go on Medicaid and food stamps. And then you have Republicans and some Democrats say, oh, these takers, go get a job. Yeah, they all have jobs. They don't have enough money to eat with those jobs. Snoopy says, poor is the same color. Nicholas Shardusky says, poverty knows no race, only class, and it's expanding its demographic. And as a reminder, yesterday was the 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King's assassination. He was assassinated at the sanitation workers' strike in Memphis, Tennessee. That's where MLK was assassinated. So what we have is a whole lot of years that have passed and a whole lot of, not a lot of change that is happening. And, you know, I keep it real. I was privileged as a kid. I worked for my father growing up. He owned a jewelry store. And I made, what did he pay me? I think he paid me like $10 to $12 an hour. And for a 14 or 15-year-old, that was a lot of money. And frankly, I got paid in cash, but don't tell the IRS. But, I probably just got my father in trouble. Shh. But that was a lot of money for me, for a young person. But you have people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s making less than I did at 13 or 14 years old with kids, with debt. And McDonald's CEO, $15.4 million. This is obscene. This is obscene. Antonia Kabakov says, your voice is so important. No one is speaking this truth. So many are suffering because of it. Thank you. Thank you, Antonia. And you know what, Antonia? I think about this a lot. If only there was a media revolution, if only there was a media network that got out here and was damn indignant and damn aggressive and damn persistent to expose this kind of stuff going on. If only there was a media network that could do that, funded by you, the viewers. If only there were people willing to go out and do that, hungry to go out and do that, passionate to go out and do that. Do you know anyone, Antonia? Do you know any media companies that could do that? Because I know some media companies claim they care about those things, but then don't really talk or cover those things. Not talking about anyone in particular. But there's very little coverage of these things. There's very little coverage of this type of, it's not just injustice, it's criminal. It's criminal. This CEO and companies like this, Walmart, McDonald's, Burger King, Target, they are knowingly starving their workers so that they could go buy yachts and have insane mansions. You know what? Good for the McDonald's CEO. He was so brilliant, he came up with all-day breakfast. I mean, that's a better invention than, the stove. He's so smart, he deserves $15.4 million a year. While his worker, here we go. Ready for this? This is from Bernie Sanders' policy advisor. His name is Warren Gunnels. The average cashier at McDonald's makes just $8.27 an hour. $8.27 an hour. If that worker got the same 94% pay raise as McDonald's CEO received last year, she would be making over $16 an hour. Mickey D's isn't a poor company. Last year, it made over $5 billion in profits. I'm just going to leave that tweet up for a minute so you can let that sink in. This guy, the CEO, up to $15.4 million, not to mention all his perks, stock options, great health care. His average worker is making $8.27 an hour. And by the way, that's just the average, so there are people making less. There are people making a little more, but not much more. So the CEO just got a 94% raise for I'm sorry to poo-poo it, but, like my 3-year-old nephew, beautiful, cute kid, he could have came up with all-day breakfast. Does he deserve $15.4 million? This is not a revolutionary idea. $16 an hour they'd be paid if they got the same raise. And you know what? $16 an hour isn't even enough, but it's a lot better than $8.27. Bernie's policy advisor had another strong tweet. Don't tell me that McDonald's can't afford to pay its workers a living wage. Last year, it gave shareholders $7.7 billion, $7.7 billion in dividends and buybacks. If it had given this money to its workers instead, they would have each gotten a $10,000 bonus. $7.7 billion in dividends and buybacks. Can you imagine if you're working at McDonald's for $8.27 and you get a $10,000 bonus? That's life-changing for some people. That's the difference between being able to pay for your kids' daycare or not. It's the difference between maybe being able to get out of some of your debt. Maybe be able to take a night class. Maybe be able to get a better healthcare plan. Maybe be able to take a trip somewhere for a weekend. Let me tell you something, folks. I've seen it up close in the field when I was at the Young Turks for 2 years, and I see it even more now. I'm just chomping at the bit to get back out there. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. And you know what? It is small right now. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm frustrated too. You know, like 60 people watching right now. I love all 60 of you, but we need to get this message out to a lot more people. And I firmly believe the way to do that is to get out in the field. The way to do that is so we have enough funds to pay for advertising. A lot of people, frankly, aren't even aware I'm back doing videos every day. Hopefully that helps because I'm going on a show next week. I'm not going to mention which show I'm going on, but I think you're going to like it. I'm not going to mention it yet because I want to make sure it doesn't get canceled. But I'm going on a show next week. I think that's going to help get the word back out there. But I would really, really, really like to be able to fund myself and a cameraman to get in the field. I would really, really love to fund other reporters. But it's also up to you. Because I believe we could change this through exposing it, being aggressive with the powerful. I'm not going to be violent, but I will get in their face. I certainly will get in their faces. I will make them have to answer for this. And we will create a media network and we will create a media revolution together. But I can't do it myself. So patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. I want to be screaming from the rooftops in front of McDonald's. I want to go in there and I want to demand to speak with the manager. I want to go to McDonald's corporate headquarters. This is not journalism for the weak of heart. This is not journalism to, jerk each other off on the set of Morning Joe, which I'm about to get to. Excuse my French. We need you to help us get back in the field. We need you to expose these stories. YouTube's suppressing us, Facebook's suppressing us, Twitter's suppressing us, but they ain't going to stop us. We have plans on how to make this a successful network, but you need to help us halfway because I am seeking. So patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. I hope you'll consider it. I hope you'll share my live streams, my videos on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your Instagram, wherever the hell you are. I'm not a tech wizard, but I know there's a lot of different platforms. Snoopy, they are too powerful, Jordan. Nobody listens. I disagree. I disagree, Snoopy. Snoopy doopy doo. I disagree with you because I've seen it. I have seen it with my own eyes. Most people are not lacking compassion. Most people are not lacking empathy. Most people have no fucking idea what's happening in this country. My parents included. They like Trump and they watch a lot of Fox. And when I show them what's going on, they are shocked. And they don't understand why more of this isn't on Fox or anywhere. There is a lot of good people that frankly are very gullible and too busy in their lives to know or care what's going on. But when you show it to them, and I have experienced this on the road, when you hammer facts home to certain people, when you get the truth out, it can create change. It happens slowly, but slowly and steadily, change happens. If I didn't think this type of journalism could actually change anything, I wouldn't do it because it's hard work. So if it's not going to change anything, there's no point in me doing it. But I need you to help me get there. So press the share button, Patreon.com/Jordan Reports. Check it out if you can. Now, from one insanity to another. I focus more on domestic things. I mean, America's so screwed up. If I then had to talk about all the terrible things happening around the world, and most of which we're creating, I wouldn't be able to sleep. So I try to focus on domestic stuff like Flint, East Chicago, Standing Rock, all that. But I put on Morning Joe this morning because I like to punish myself. And as a public service, I watch the corporate media so you don't have to. That's how I view it. I watch it so you don't have to. So before I play the Morning Joe clip, obviously President Trump, he's talked about freezing $200 million that was going to go for additional money to give to Syria so that we could take out Assad and, support the rebels. And he's talking about, I want to take troops out. If I actually thought it was anything more than talk and he was actually going to do it, I'd applaud the man. I think he's reprehensible, but I give him credit if he's going to do the right thing. But I had tweeted at the time when he announced this, this is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So at first he said, we're going to freeze $200 million that was coming from the State Department to go over to Syria to prevent ISIS from retaking some of the towns that the United States has supposedly helped rid ISIS of in Syria. So before I play the insanity that I heard on Morning Joe today, I would like to play something from Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard last year. This was on the the congressional floor, and this is what Tulsi Gabbard had to say.
The American people have felt directly the cost of our nation's interventionist wars, a cost borne by our nation's sons and daughters who've served, and by communities and people in every country. We've spent trillions of dollars on regime change wars in the Middle East, while communities like mine in Hawaii face a severe lack of affordable housing, aging infrastructure, the need to invest in education, healthcare, and so much more. Our limited resources should go toward rebuilding our communities here at home, not fueling more counterproductive regime change wars abroad. I've introduced the Stop Arming Terrorists Act legislation that would stop our government from using taxpayer dollars to directly or indirectly support groups who are allied with and supporting terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda in their war to overthrow the Syrian government. The fact that our resources are being used to strengthen the very terrorist groups we should be focused on defeating should alarm every American. I urge my colleagues to support this bipartisan legislation and stop this madness. I yield back.
Madness. Madness, she said. And she made a point, which is pretty much the point that you never hear in the corporate media, that we keep talking about arming the rebels, arming the righteous rebels to get brutal terrorist groups out, to get brutal dictators out. And by the way, we're arming those rebels and we're, interjecting in all these friggin' wars to the tune, do you remember this? 5.6 trillion we've spent on the wars in the Middle East and Asia. $5.6 trillion. $5.6 trillion. Do you know how many fast food workers could actually live for $5.6 trillion? The U.S. has spent 5.6. Hold on one second. The U.S. Don't freeze on me now, computer. Hold on. I don't know why it's not working. This is what happens when you're live with no tech. The U.S. has spent $5.6 trillion since 2001. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Sorry, folks. Stick with me for a second. Doo-doo-doo. I don't know. Basically, we've spent $5.6 trillion since 2001 on the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Pakistan, according to a new study. That figure, according to the Wall Street Journal, is more than triple more than triple the Pentagon's narrow estimate of $1.5 trillion, which was released by the State Department. Oh, Jesus, what's wrong with this? So, the bottom line is this. We are spending our kids' futures. We are spending our seniors' present. We are spending all our education money. We are spending all our infrastructure money. We are spending all our childcare money. We are spending all, education, public safety, research and development, help for the elderly, heating assistance. All these things have been cut over the years so that we could keep doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling the military. For what reason other than oil? And making sure that we keep business-friendly and United States business-friendly leaders in charge in places like Syria. Because that's what's going on. And that's what's happened throughout the last 60 years. The U.S. sends rebels in, or insurgents in, who are supposedly better than the brutal dictators we're trying to get rid of. We insert them, and then they're just as bad and brutal. It's insane. It's insane. So I'm going to play you a clip from the alternative reality that is Morning Joe. If you could stomach it. If you could stomach it for a few minutes. Because I was literally trying to go back to bed listening to this, and I couldn't. I had to literally get up and write myself an email to remember what was being said. Because it's so insane. It's so insane. That's right, Kyle. Become a patron and get Jordan a better computer. That would be patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. By the way, I've got 50 tabs open. Because I'm not very strong at tech, if you haven't noticed, but I'm trying to show you images and videos and all this stuff, so it's a little bit too much for my computer, I think. But watch Morning Joe, watch this insanity from Morning Joe this morning.
And that is whether America was going to beat a speedy retreat out of Syria and allow ISIS to once again gain a foothold in that territory. There still are remnants of the opposition scattered about the region. They certainly could regain power and cause problems once again. Yesterday, it seems calmer heads prevailed in the White House and over at the Pentagon. Talk about the fact that the president, for now, seems to not be doing what he accused Barack Obama of doing, and that is announcing dates of withdrawal and also abandoning a region to let ISIS take it over.
Yeah, I think.
So, in our corporate media, which, by the way, NBC, MSNBC used to be owned by General Electric, which helped build nuclear war weapons. So, General Electric, which owned NBC and MSNBC for many, many years, helped build military aircrafts, helped build nuclear weapons. No conflict of interest there, right? When our media is owned by the very people perpetuating war. So Joe Scarborough, who, I can't stand. Joe Scarborough says, calmer heads have prevailed. Calmer heads have prevailed. Which I guess means the neocons pulled Trump back. The neocons pulled Trump back for a hot minute. Because Trump had a rare good thought to stop spending hundreds of millions of dollars, trillions of dollars really, but hundreds of millions of dollars in Syria, which I don't know why we're even in Syria. As Kyle Kalinske, host of Secular Talk, pointed out, it's actually been the Syrian army, the Syrian Free Army, and other groups that have been getting ISIS out. The U.S. Army has had very little to do with it. We have advisors there. But this is the mentality. Well, the calmer heads, aka the neocons, and the people profiting off of endless war, the calmer heads have prevailed here. So we're going to stay in Syria indefinitely. Those are the calmer heads. Just like Brian Williams, when we bombed Syria, was saying on air, oh, look at these the beauty of this image. So when Brian Williams isn't lying about his reporting, he's commenting on how beautiful the airstrikes are. The United States airstrikes are in Syria. Bahavel Foxglaive, thank you. Super stoked that I just became a patron. Wish it could be more, but I feel more empowered already. Hopping on the Chariton chariot of free speech. I'm stealing that from you, but I'm not. Because I don't want to, I'm not narcissistic and I'm not an egomaniac. I don't want any branding referred to the Chariton chariot. Although it's pretty badass. And I might just like recite it to myself before I go to bed. But thank you for becoming a patron. Thanks to everyone who's subscribing to Patreon. I'm not kidding. $2 a month makes a big difference. $5 a month makes a big difference. $10 a month makes a huge difference. If you can't, if you're struggling, you know, if you don't know if you're going to be able to pay rent or food, I get it. I don't want your money. But if you have a couple bucks a month to subscribe to Real Reporting, you get a premium podcast, you get video diaries, you get a whole lot. I hope you'll consider it. Back to Syria and this insanity. If you could stomach it, tell me in the chat, can you stomach any more of this Morning Joe? Because I don't want to make people sick. I'm not here to make you sick. I'm here to educate, inform, maybe entertain you. And by the way, I'm schwitzing. I'm schwitzing, it's so hot. If you're coming to this late, I have a bit of a cold and I'm sick. So I'm just kind of working through it. I took antibiotics today. So I don't look so great and I got my towel. I got my towel here. But can you stomach it if I play you a little bit more Morning Joe? Because I think this is informative and educational. All right.
Yeah, the operative words there are for now. President obviously wants to take all U.S. troops out. What he essentially declared yesterday was we're going to stay in Syria, not as part of a Syria strategy. We've given up on influencing the future trajectory of Syria. We're going to leave that to Russia, Iran, and the Syrian government. Instead, we are going to keep troops there for a limited time, reluctantly, to deal with ISIS as a counterterrorism strategy. The problem is...
Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no, he didn't, girl. We're going to keep troops in for a limited time. We're going to keep troops in for a limited time. Where else have I heard that? Where else have I heard that we're going to keep troops in for a limited time? Was anybody paying attention during the Iraq War? When Bush's, Cheney and Tenet and Rumsfeld said, oh, they'll greet us as liberators. We'll be in and out in a month, 2 months tops. This is beyond delusional. The United States doesn't go places for we don't bomb places and send our advisors and our army and just stay a little while. Just stay for a little while. Well, we don't want to stay long term. We just want to come in, take a stroll, kill some innocent people, and then we'll go home, right? If any of you believe what this neocon idiot is saying, I got a bridge to sell you right behind me. I continue.
That the president still thinks the day will one day arrive when we can safely take those troops out. But there will always be remnants of these terrorist groups, and there will always be the conditions in which they can once again gain power. So either we can't leave until one of two things happen. One is all that changes and these individuals and groups disappear. That's not going to happen, Joe. The other is when we have local partners that are willing and able to take them on. And the only local partner willing to do that is the Syrian Kurds. And we have got to stand with them. And I think it's an open-ended commitment, low-level, open-ended, and the president had better level with the American people about that. But because these are not traditional wars. There's not going to be the battleship Missouri where ISIS somehow surrenders to the United States and we can bring the troops out.
Well, and Richard,
I can't. I can't listen anymore. I can't listen anymore. I can't listen anymore. Oh, God. When does it end, folks? When does it end? So let me just make a minor point. And I want to say as a full disclaimer, I'm not defending ISIS. So don't let any of the crazy people who like to fearmonger say I'm defending ISIS. I'm not defending ISIS. There's no excuse for terrorism under any circumstances. If you come and kill my family, I don't have the right to then go kill your family. I could understand why you would want to, but one awful decision, what did they say? One awful wrong or two wrongs don't make a right. So there is no defense for terrorism. But this kind of talk and mentality by Richard Haas and Joe Scarborough and all these people in their fancy suits in New York City making millions of dollars, they've never fought in a war, most of these people. When you permanently occupy countries that don't belong to you, when you keep killing hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians around the world, it creates and breeds more terrorism. You know what bin Laden, what radicalized him? Russia and then the United States occupying Afghanistan. Again, it does not justify who bin Laden became, the heinous things he did, the amounts of people he slaughtered. There is no justification, period. But terrorism doesn't just happen because they're psychopaths. Terrorism happens because we are giving them a reason to exercise their psychopathy. Ooh, that sounded smart. Yeah, they're psychopaths. But we're permanently invading their countries. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. And I do believe in doing things for humanitarian reasons. Like, as somebody who was raised Jewish, the United States did nothing for the Jews as they were being exterminated in Germany. So I do think there are circumstances when we should, on humanitarian grounds, step in. But we can't step in to every single country. And more importantly, what are our motives in Syria? Why are we there? As Kyle Kalinske has talked 1,000 times, we're trying to topple Assad and get rid of ISIS, but we're arming jihadists. We are arming jihadists to do so. We've also armed some Al-Qaeda members to get rid of ISIS. In Syria. Get the troops the hell out of Syria. Get them out. How about you spend money on the Burger King and McDonald's workers? How about you spend money on the teachers? How about you spend money on the students? Jill Stein had a great idea: forgive student loan debt. They were able to forgive the bank's debt, forgive the student loan debt. How about you spend money on direct jobs programs for African Americans who have economic terrorism being perpetrated against them? That's right, it's terrorism. How about you spend money so that single mothers could get some relief? Because you want to know what happens when you actually invest in your people? Not only do you produce a stronger economy, you produce a safer country. In the history of the world, stronger economies, more equitable economies, equitable economies economically have also been the most safe countries. But we're spending trillions of dollars around the world. Trillions of dollars around the world. For what reason? And by the way, ISIS isn't just in Syria. ISIS is in Syria and Yemen and Pakistan and Al-Qaeda. We went to war in Afghanistan now for 17 years, I believe it is, when bin Laden was in Pakistan, when half of Al-Qaeda is spread around the world. Why are we occupying other countries? You know what? Assad is a terrible, terrible dictator. I believe he has done terrible, terrible things. But we can't police the world. We have to focus on our country. Because there's children struggling and being killed in our country. There's people who cannot get access to clean water right now in our country. There's teachers striking in Oklahoma and Kentucky and West Virginia and New Jersey because they literally, on a full-time job, sometimes 2 to 3 jobs, cannot feed their children.
Not even talking about the end of World War II, where you can also say this is not the Iraq War of 1991 or 2003. As you said, small investments in terms of troops and also money when you compare it to past military operations, and a sustainable operation over a course of time that prevents ISIS from regaining power and rebuilding their caliphate, and also stops us from turning Syria over to Putin and Assad.
To be clear, this is sort of not what the president initially wanted. I mean, he is looking for the immediate hasty withdrawal ahead of the plans that were laid out previously. He sort of got talked back from the ledge a little bit by his national security advisors, saying that, look, that we need to have at least some sort of presence in Syria for a time, reminiscent of the Afghanistan debate from last summer, where he had suggested that he didn't understand the point of why we were still there and had to be explained by Tillerson and McMaster and Mattis and others why we needed to have at least some sort of presence. It comes back to, again, him feeling that this is something that he got elected on, that he's going back to what worked. The tariffs are the same way, and that's an illuminating piece of footage we watched earlier of Kudlow sort of strolling down the White House driveway, being surrounded, not strategic, not organized. This impromptu gaggle where he was like surrounded by reporters, and you could see that he was sort of uncomfortable with answering some of these questions, that there is a divide in the White House about whether these tariffs are smart. Mnuchin and Ross on one side.
Oh God! Well, if the CEO of ExxonMobil, did you just hear him say calmer heads? The CEO of ExxonMobil, who was the Secretary of State, I still can't get over the fact that the CEO of ExxonMobil became our Secretary of State. So at least it's no longer hidden that this country is run by oil. So the calmer heads included the CEO of ExxonMobil, telling him to stay in Syria. Let me tell you something. If Syria falls to Assad and Russia, okay. Because you want to know something? The people in Flint don't give a damn about Assad or Putin. Neither do the Native Americans at Standing Rock. Neither do the pipeline protesters all around this country. I don't want to speak for everyone, but the people that I cover, the people that I care about, a lot of the people in this chat room, is what happens in Syria your concern? And I'm not trying to be selfish. We could care about multiple things. We could care about what happens to people across the world and care about ourselves. But when our government deserts its own people for endless voyaging around the world in a misguided notion of spreading democracy, and it's just this old, terrible record that keeps on spinning. One terrible dictator that we want to get rid of because they won't let us take their oil. That's what happens. Watch Oliver Stone's Untold History of the United States. When dictators or when leaders in other countries said, no, we're going to nationalize our oil. It's our oil. You know what the United States did? You know what the CIA did? They went in, they stoked up a rebellion from insurgents. In many cases, the CIA developed the rebellion in Iran and other places themselves. In many cases, they created basically paying protesters to storm the gates. This happened in Iran, in Venezuela, in many countries. The CIA forged photographs in some cases. Oliver Stone's documentary is one of the best things I've ever seen. It's also one of the most sickening things I've ever seen. It's horrifying what the United States has done around the world. So, yeah, let's get rid of Assad and put the rebels in power, which are a conglomeration of jihadists, Al-Qaeda members, and frankly, some ISIS members. Brilliant. Maybe we could focus on Syria and other places when we actually create a civilized first world country here in America, because we are a third world country now. And you want to know something? The rest of the world, Trump's wrong. The rest of the world is not laughing at us because of our immigration system, which he keeps lying about. Like border and immigrants coming to the border is very, very reduced. Started under Obama and now is on steroids under him. The rest of the world is laughing at us because every single week we have gun terrorism killing our children. They're laughing at us because we don't actually provide health care for our citizens. They're laughing at us because our education system is broken and we have a lot of stupidity coming out of it. They're laughing at us because people have to work 3 or 4 jobs here just to pay the rent. They're laughing at us because we're spending all our money around the world and all we see is protest here and suffering here. They're laughing at us because we keep saying with our words, we're the shiny city on a hill. We're the shining city on a hill. And everybody wants to come to America. Go take a survey around the world. I was just in Germany last year. There's not a lot of people jonesing to come to America right now. Gamer X says, and the middle class needs to stop fooling themselves that they are that much different from the homeless beggar on the street. That could be them so easily. You're right. It reminds me of when I was at the Young Turks. I went to an outdoor houseless tent village. I call it houseless because home is where the heart is, and you don't want to say people don't have a home, so I call it houseless. And I was shocked that there was nobody there. I tried to interview people. There was very few people there because they were all at work. These are houseless people who had full-time jobs, but their full-time jobs could not even afford to pay for an apartment. That's happening in America. Yet, overpaid public relations people pretending to be journalists, because that's what they are. Chuck Todd, Wolf Blitzer, Joe Scarborough, they're all public relations people. And you know who they do PR for? The government and the corporations. Let's not stop. They're not journalists. And our democracy is not under attack from Russia. Our democracy is under attack from our oligarchy. We don't have a democracy. Your vote, sorry to say, right now, doesn't mean much. Because we keep allowing corporations to buy off the people we're voting. We keep allowing plutocrats to buy off the people we're voting. And until we get out there all together, and I think my part is the journalism. My part is to make sure you know what's going on so you can take action. Journalism is my activism. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. Your contributions are going to help me launch a media network. And I have people behind the scenes. We are doing a lot behind the scenes to get this off the ground. But we can't get it off the ground without funds. So if you want to see me out there in the field, if you want to see other reporters with similar mindset out there in the field, help us get there. Jen will put it a couple more times in the chat. We should not be in Syria anymore. We should not be in Afghanistan. We should certainly not be in Iraq. Have an army that is a defensive army. If we are under an immediate threat of attack, then we can strike. Immediate threat of attack. Can I say that one more time? Immediate threat. Not intelligence that we don't, intelligence, coming out of the skies of the mushroom cloud from Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice, but confirmed you are going to be attacked. Then we should act. But other than that, get the fuck out of everyone else's business and start funding the people. Moving on to an example of what's being ignored and the people that are being ignored because of our gallivanting and all our money spent around the world to get oil from other countries and kill hundreds of thousands of people. Flint, Michigan. I want to give you the history so you know what happened yesterday. So Flint, as you know, I've covered quite a bit. And what happened in Flint is simple. Governor Rick Snyder chose to appoint an emergency manager. to basically make all the decisions for the city of Flint. Flint was in such bad economic shape because of federal and state government essentially sending all their jobs offshore. So Flint went from like the definition of the American middle class to a dump. So did Detroit. So what happened was Snyder, the Republican extremist governor, appointed an emergency manager who was not elected, appointed, and that emergency manager then got to overrule the elected mayor of Flint, the elected city council men and women of Flint, and that emergency manager, basically a proxy for Rick Snyder. Rick Snyder was making decisions for the city of Flint. Through his emergency manager, decided they should switch to the Flint River because they were trying to privatize the water system. They were building a privatized water pipeline, and during construction, they temporarily went to the Flint River. And they all kind of forgot you have to treat the water with anti-corrosives. So they didn't treat the water with anti-corrosive chemicals, and the water went into the pipes, and lead started breaching off and got into the citywide water system. And I talk to people every single day who are still sick, who are not getting their medical bills covered, who are getting no relief in Flint. And this was all because of Governor Rick Snyder and his unelected emergency manager. But no, democracy is under attack because of Russia and Russian trolls, not because like governors are just allowed to just elect or appoint unelected officials to make catastrophic decisions for poor white and black people in Flint, Michigan. That's not an infringement on democracy. So Flint, even though there hasn't been an emergency manager for the last few years, they were still under emergency manager laws. So what was removed was a single emergency manager, and what was put in place was a board of 4 or 5 people, I think it was 4, called the Receivership Transition Advisory Board. And that board was essentially 4 emergency managers. That as a board, I was there in Flint and I saw this up close. My former cameraman and me and Ty sat at a meeting, and we watched the mayor of Flint have to go and basically get approval from unelected businessmen for the budget, for funds, for everything. This was going on in Flint for years. So the very people, Governor Snyder, his administration, his environmental agency, the very people that poisoned the people of Flint, the mayor of Flint, the city council of Flint, had to then go before to beg for funds and beg for action. So we poison you, and then you ask us for permission to help you. That's how it works in America. Press the share button. Let's get this out to more people. So, yesterday, Michigan returned full local control to Flint, ending all financial oversight. I'll read you a little bit. Governor Rick Snyder's administration has returned full local control back to Flint city government and removed all state oversight under Michigan's emergency manager law. The very law that I just told you is totally undemocratic and awful. Mayor Karen Weaver requested the state relinquish all authority over the city's financial matters, while the Regional Transition Advisory Board recommended it be dissolved. This marks the first time Flint City Hall has been free from state oversight since November 2011, when an emergency manager was appointed to take over management of the city's affairs. Quote, city management and elected leadership have worked hard to put Flint on a stronger path, Governor Snyder said in a statement. With continuing cooperation between the city and state, Flint has an opportunity to take advantage of the momentum, I don't know what he's talking about, of the momentum being felt around the city in terms of economic development, which could lead to stronger budgets and improved services for residents. That's just a lie. That's just a straight up lie, because I've been to Flint 9 times. I've spoken at this point to over 100 residents. I've spoken with city officials that aren't bought off. There is no economic development in the city of Flint. Maybe for a 10-block radius where they're trying to beautify downtown. But the problem is the majority of people don't have enough money to go spend money downtown. Same thing happened in Detroit. They're trying to get rid of the poor people, build up certain areas. It's called gentrification. It's not that great. Some people think it's great. It ain't great. If you see a Whole Foods, run. But there is no economic momentum or development for working people in Flint or Detroit or Cleveland or Milwaukee or fill in the blank city that used to be blue collar and all their jobs got sent offshore. And this governor, he doesn't give a damn about Flint, Michigan. He does not care. He poisoned them. And I did a story last week. This governor's right-hand man, his name's Rich Baird, literally in a text message to an activist and a resident said, "How dare you vilify the governor? How dare you vilify the governor and talk about him in a negative way? How dare you vilify the man that helped and oversaw your poisoning and then has basically done nothing and helped ensure a cover-up? How dare you?" Well, I got a quote from Melissa Mays. She is a Flint resident. She's one of the leading activists in Flint. She has spoken around the country at conferences. She has gone to Capitol Hill advocating for not just money for Flint, but reform in the EPA, because the water testing rules in the EPA are substandard and are allowing water utilities and independent scientists to basically cheat the system. So there's very dubious water testing going on that as a result, it shows lower numbers of lead in water, and then the EPA says, "Oh, everything's fine in these communities now. It's the lead in the water is now under the allowable limit." Well, Melissa Mays has been sounding the alarm on that now for 4 years. April 25th, mark your calendar. April 25th is the 4-year anniversary of when they switched from Detroit's water to the Flint River. And 4 years later, they still can't drink that water. There are some saying it's safe to drink the water based on fraudulent science. I have been working on an investigative piece on Flint for many, many months. It has been difficult to get it published for many different reasons. I explain that in my I don't do it every day, but in my video diary for patrons only, I explain all the details behind what that story is about and trying to get it published. And all the sucky corporate editors I've had to deal with, and all their stupid, insane reasons for not publishing it. This story, I believe, can save lives. This story has Erin Brockovich on the record to condemn the type of testing this scientist has been doing. This story shows that the declaration that Flint's water is now normal is based on fake science. Not fake news, fake science. And this story has been difficult to publish because corporate media editors are spineless. And I am going to get it published, whether it's at a corporate site or on my own. But people are still actively being poisoned if they drink that water. Make no mistake about it. On the decision to end, on the state of Michigan pulling Flint out of receivership, she said, "I'm definitely not celebrating the state pulling out of Flint because they still control our recovery. All of the money we need to replace pipes and settle lawsuits and keep bottled water going is all controlled by the state. They are backing away now to try to slide away from their responsibility to Flint residents after the state and Snyder's emergency managers poisoned our water, destroyed our infrastructure, destroyed our schools, privatized our public assets and revenue streams, all of which shrunk our tax base. So after Snyder basically destroyed Flint physically, socially, and financially, he decides to bail, to leave us, to pull ourselves out of the state-created disaster on our own." Can't really say it any better than that. She also said on Governor Snyder's phrasing that there's some economic momentum. She said, I have no idea what he's talking about. The only revenue stream Flint has left after the state raided our city is our water bill payments, which are 8 times the national average, and mass shutoffs are happening, so the momentum he must be referring to is backwards. You're not hearing the Melissa Mays of the world on CNN, are you? You're not hearing or seeing the Melissa Mays of the world in the New York Times. You're not seeing the lie. You're not getting the lies. The lies. These are lies. Being shot down. You're not seeing Governor Rick Snyder. It's not just Snyder. There's extremist Republican governors all over the country. There's, frankly, pretty bad Democratic governors around the country that are raiding the coffers of middle-class people, are allowing people to be poisoned by their water and then cover it up. But you don't see Melissa Mays. You don't hear from Melissa Mays in the media. Well, I'm going to change that. I am going to change that. Because make no mistake about it, folks, and a lot of people kind of, I don't want to say got frustrated with me, but wanted to know, why do I cover Flint so much, even when I was still at the Young Turks? Why do you cover it so much? Frankly, if I'm being honest, I also had it out with Cenk at one point. I had it out with Cenk at one point, who didn't understand why I wanted to keep going back to Flint, Michigan. And it's very simple why I feel the need to keep covering Flint, why when I do get this company off the ground, which I need your help for, make no mistake, I'm not asking you for your money so I could go out for a fancy dinner. I'm asking you for financial support so we could launch a media revolution. I don't want a media revolution so I could put a cool bumper sticker on my car. I want a media revolution so we could start getting the truth out there and start creating change. But certain people in the media will not show Melissa Mays, will not allow lies to be shot down, will not make it their business to expose lies. You want to know why I think Flint is very important? Why I still cover it? Because it's not about just Flint. Flint is a microcosm. Flint is a symbol for the whole country. Of course, I care about the people specifically in Flint. That's why I keep going back. That's why I cover it. But what I see so clearly is if we normalize what happened in Flint, then we are setting the conditions for it to happen all over the rest of the country. When you normalize Flint, when you normalize American citizens being poisoned by their government, when you normalize American citizens who were poisoned by their government not getting health care from their government to treat their illnesses from that poisoning, when you normalize a governor who was criminally negligent, and I think is guilty of involuntary manslaughter, when you normalize that and you let him off the hook, when you normalize people being so poor that they have no choice but to drink dirty water, then you are setting the conditions for it to happen elsewhere. And it is happening elsewhere. As you've seen from my reporting, there is water contamination happening all over the country. And it's not getting reported on CNN. It's not getting reported on MSNBC. It's not getting reported in the New York Times. It's not even getting reported anymore on certain independent media outlets that I won't mention. Because it's not sexy, right? It doesn't get the clicks. You know, it's not Trump and Russia. It's not Trump's tweets. It doesn't get the clicks. Well, let me tell you something. I've seen it with my own eyes. A company I used to work for raised $2 million because people want this kind of reporting. People want the truth out there. People want the microphone to go back to the people, not pundits, not morons bloviating in studios all the time who don't know their head from their ass. People want reporters who are willing to get out in the field and tell the truth and show the truth and expose corruption and expose oligarchy. And that's why Flint is important, because it's not just about Flint. If we let Flint fall out of the news cycle, if we let Flint be forgotten, then it's going to happen over and over and over and over and over, all over the country. That's why I choose to keep going back to Flint. That's why. Nicholas says, we do want that. We want the truth. You know, there's another reason. There's another reason Flint is important. You can't make change. You can't make change if we have an attitude, well, it's not in my neighborhood. Doesn't matter if Flint is where you live or not. When this happens to you, if it happens to you, God forbid, you want reporters to cover it. You want citizens halfway around the country to give a damn. Because when your kid gets sick, or you get sick, or your life gets ruined, you better damn believe you're going to want an army around you to make the media cover it. You're going to want an army around you to make the government have to do something. And we're going to do it together, folks. We are going to do this. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. We want to get to about 200 to 250 patrons over the next week or two. We want to be able to show potential investors that we have a support base. We want to show investors, hey, I haven't even left my apartment yet. I haven't even done the journalism that I want to do and that other people around me are going to do, because we're going to hire other reporters. We haven't done anything yet, and we already have this level of support. Help me get to 250 patrons. Help me get to 500 patrons. Help me get to 1,000. Help me get there. I am not beyond begging. I will beg if I have to, because that's how much I care. And you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. What I'm doing right now, it's harder than when I was at the Young Turks. It's harder to start from scratch. It's harder to start without built-in support and investment. But you know what? It's sweeter. It's also sweeter. Because at the end of the day, life is short. I want to succeed or fail based on the viewer. Not based on, bosses above me. Not based on what my company's priorities are or are not. Not based on them, a certain company or certain bosses saying, no, it's time to leave. It's time to pull you. It's time to pull you out of wherever you are. We are going to succeed or fail based on my vision and what you're telling me. That's how we're going to do it here. I am not a wizard. Sometimes I might be wrong. Sometimes I might have my mind set on something, and I'll have to listen to the viewers who might tell me they want something different. As hard as it is to start brand new, as hard as it is to start from the ground floor, as hard as it is to start when YouTube's doing some shady things to make sure you're not getting your stream out to the most amount of people, I'm willing to work harder than I did before, because I think it's vital that we get real journalism struggle, real people's story, exposing what's really going on out there. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. I got one more story for you, but I'm going to take a swig of water because I'm a little sick and my throat hurts from talking so much. I might actually not do a live stream tomorrow. We'll see. Woo! Yeah, my throat definitely hurts. Gamer X, just keep your pecker in your pants and you'll do just fine. Thank you, Gamer. I will say, Gamer, I did maybe make some mistakes in my day. I'm man enough to admit that. But the only pecker that's going anywhere is this big Jewish nose in the faces of the powerful. That's the pecker you need to worry about. Don't worry about the other pecker. It's fine. Ooh, I hope nobody clips that out because it didn't sound good. This is the only pecker you need to worry about because I'm coming for you, Rick Snyder. Now, one more story. Sick Cider says, why not work with TYT again? The viewers would love you back. I got really not much to say on that retrospect. I wish TYT well, but I'm not going to go back to TYT for my own reasons. So I'm happy what I'm doing. I'm happy that I could execute my vision. You know, I think life is short. I'm not bitter, but I don't really agree with the path the Young Turks has taken. Obviously, it wasn't my choice. They let me go, but I don't agree with the path they're on. I think there's good people there, but the urgency is now. We need these stories out there. We need these stories to get visibility. We need a lot of these stories to go viral. We need a lot of these stories to get to the masses. And I am not going to rely on anyone else to do that. Especially outlets that, frankly, are spending more time covering what Donald Trump tweets, what Donald Trump eats for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and reenacting the Cold War. Because I know that's not the real story. That's why. So, and somebody just said, could you possibly work with other YouTubers like Secular Talk? Hey, I'm willing to work with anyone, but let me be clear. I love Kyle, I love Jimmy Dore, I love all these people. And I will be hoping to collaborate and get some of our content on their channels and all that. And I will say, I will be on Jimmy's show very soon. So I'll be on Jimmy's show very soon. Hopefully we get that out to more and more people by going on Jimmy's show, that I'm back, where people can subscribe to, where people can go for Patreon and to subscribe to the U channel. So I'll be on Jimmy's show soon. I'll be on other shows too. I'm going to get back out there and tell the story of what we're trying to accomplish. But, you know, honestly, I don't, you know, I'm not looking backwards. I don't feel the need to work with my former network. Not that I have the choice, you know. They fired me. That was their decision. I don't agree with it, but that was their decision. But we're charting a new path because you want to know something? I have seen what is needed. I've seen it on the road for 2 years. And what is needed is a large, large media revolution. We need a network where we have reporters in the field, not just going to cover conferences, not just going to cover big popular marches like the March for Our Lives. Those things are important. But just going to cover conferences, just going to cover like in vogue marches is not enough. We need people to go to interview the single mother in the Walmart parking lot. We need people to go to the trailer park where people who used to have homes but now live in trailer parks live after the 2008 crash. We need people to go back to Flint when nobody is covering Flint anymore. We need people to go to Bears Ears where they're trying to shrink 85% of this Native American sacred land so that they could mine and do fossil fuels. We need people all over the country. We need people all over the country. Nicholas says Rome wasn't built in a day. Correct. Jennifer W. I have confidence in you, Jordan. I love your work. Thank you, Jennifer. Love you too. Bahavi says, yes, Jordan, loved you at TYT. Even happier to see your work now. It is just that it is rare that your perspective differs from my views. And who else is reporting these stories? You know, it's funny you said that, actually, because one of the things I was super encouraged by when I was at the Young Turks, I had, like, it wasn't a small number of people. I had a lot of conservative people reach out to me and say, I don't agree with your politics at all, but I love your coverage of Flint or Standing Rock or this and that. I've had a lot of that. I think this type of reporting really isn't only progressive, because there are a lot of struggling blue-collar working conservatives in a lot of the areas I cover. I remember I went down to cover a pipeline in Texas, the Trans-Pecos pipeline. And essentially the government was digging up these Dick Cheney literally cowboy wearing hat conservatives' backyards to put a natural gas pipeline. And I was interviewing conservatives who were righteously indignant about their property being destroyed. I've interviewed Trump supporters at his rallies during the campaign who literally told me, I like that Bernie guy. You'd be surprised. There are a lot of right-wing people who actually are progressive and don't even know it, and might not even know. Do you think conservatives don't care about their water being safe? Do you think conservatives don't care if they can't send their kids to college? I need you to help me get there. And I want you to think about this. I really want you to think about this. You might have, $10 to $20 a month to play around with. If that's all you have, I don't want your money. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you don't know if you're going to be able to put groceries on the table, save your money. I'll figure out another way. I don't want to put anybody in a bad position here. But if you have $2 a month, if you have $5 a month, what is that? Is that worth it to you to see some powerful people made accountable? Is it worth it to you to get more of these stories out, to wake up more people? Is it worth it to you so we could hire other reporters to do it? Is it worth it to you? Because it really comes down to not just how bad I want it, how bad do you want it? If I get, I'm terrible at math, but if I get, 5,000 people to pay $2 a month, that's a start. If I get 5,000 people to pay $5 a month, that's a start. If I get a couple progressives, actual progressives, capital P progressives, not people who fund like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, or like switch teams and fund Republicans sometimes and Democrats the other times. If I get some progressives with actual money to invest in this company, we're going to do really good things. I'm not going to say we're going to do stupendous and amazing and ridiculous, it's going to be amazing, because I'm not Donald Trump and that's not how I talk. But we are going to do big things, but I need you to help me. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Report. Last story. Now, I happen to like Robert De Niro. I happen to think he's a really great actor. I loved him in Analyze This. I loved him in Meet the Parents? Is that it? Meet the Parents? Yeah. I loved him in some of the crime movies and all that stuff. He's a legend, Robert De Niro. But he made a comment that is part of the mentality of why Trump, right now, I think will get reelected. If the election were today, Trump will get reelected. So let me read you from Robert De Niro, obviously famous actor. Robert De Niro has never been afraid to dish on his liberal politics, and his latest interview is no different. An interview with IndieWire, stating simply, "I don't care about Roseanne." Okay. The Academy Award-winning actor began by praising the Parkland students who organized the March for Our Lives last month and blasting the NRA. Quote, the people that I care about are those young people who demonstrated, De Niro said. They're the future. They know. They say, well, remember in November. They're the ones that feel the way we do, not the way the gun lovers and the NRA do, with all that idiocy to the point of absurdity. The CDC can't even do a study because the NRA stopped it. The CDC works for us. How can the NRA stop that? What kind of absurd logic is that? So far, so good. So far, so good. I agree. I agree with Robert De Niro. I don't care what people who support the NRA, frankly, have to say. Because the NRA is an extremist gun organization. So I'm not going to sit there and try to level with the NRA or with those kinds of people. Doesn't matter what they think. Sure, there are some NRA members that are, there's a lot of NRA members and a lot of gun owners that are for expanding background checks. And some of them are now coming around to, we don't need AR-15s. But there's also a lot that I don't feel the need to talk to because they care more about their right to have bazooka guns than for Americans to live. So on this, I agree with Robert De Niro. But then he went into an area that I think he's so off, and it's an arrogance and it's an entitlement that is going to re-elect Donald Trump if we're not careful. During the interview, the recent premiere of the Roseanne revival was mentioned, and how Roseanne Barr's character, who like herself is a Trump supporter, drew over 25 million viewers. However, De Niro didn't exactly care. Quote, "I've never seen her show before. I didn't know she was supporting Donald Trump, but I have no interest in that," he responded. We're at a point with all of us, this where it's beyond trying to see another person's point of view. There are ways you could talk about that, but we're at a point where the things that are happening in our country are so bad, and it comes from Trump. There are so many people who have left his administration. It's a serious thing. So I don't care about Roseanne. They want that thing, fine. We have real issues in this country. So this right here is the mentality that elected Trump and will re-elect Trump. First of all, Mr. De Niro, who, by the way, I love his acting. This mentality that everything was just peachy on January 19th. Did you hear what he said? Said, there are ways you could talk about that, but we're at a point where the things that are happening in our country are so bad, and it comes from Trump. This is the delusions of celebrities. These are the delusions of the Democratic Party establishment. These are the delusions of bought-off government officials who have not actually gone to their districts and talked to struggling people. These are the delusions of corporate CEOs who think, oh, all of it's bad is coming from Trump. Have things become worse? Absolutely. I think Trump's terrible. I choose not to cover him every day because I don't have anything to add to the conversation. He's terrible. His policies are terrible. He's a sociopath. I honestly, in some ways, think he's a psychopath because I don't think he knows the difference between right or wrong. I think he's a dangerous man. But anyone who has followed American history, and I've been lucky enough to go out on the road the last 2 years, most of it before Trump became president, would know things have been bad way before Trump. Things have been shameful way before Trump. People have been getting screwed way before Trump. People have been getting poisoned under a Democratic president, and nothing was done for them. So, if you want to resist Trump, that's fine. Resist him. He is terrible. I'd like to see him not be reelected. But if the mentality is, oh, well, things were so much better before him, and they've gotten so much worse because of him. No. Things have been bad. There has been a crisis for a long time. And that's why when all these hysterical people were like, Jordan, you got to vote for Hillary. You got to vote for Hillary. You got to tell everyone to vote for Hillary. I said, you don't understand. The people that I have met, the people that I have interviewed, they can't afford the status quo because they're in a crisis now. It's not a choice between a diabolical, awful man and, just a less diabolical woman who's slightly less corrupt, because if under her, things would not change and they need change. So both options were terrible. Do I think Trump is worse than her on some things? Yeah, I do. I think he's been dramatically worse on the environment in particular. And I underestimated how bad he was going to be on the environment. And for that, I'm responsible. I take responsibility. He really didn't talk much about the environment at his rallies. I thought he would actually listen to business owners because most business owners want action taken on climate change. I thought he would listen to his daughter. but he's a maniac. He believes fossil fuels are the way. He denies climate change. He's a maniac. So on that, yeah, Hillary Clinton, she pushed fracking and other things, but she's not as bad as him. Some of you might not like that, but that's just the truth, and I'm going to keep it real. She's not as bad as him on the environment, per se. Would we have been at war with Russia and Syria by now under Hillary Clinton? Probably. I think there's evidence of that. But this mentality from people like Robert De Niro that, oh, you know, things have gotten so much worse under Trump, it's because he's a millionaire and he's detached from how bad things were before Trump. And when you say things like, we're at a point with all of us where it's beyond trying to see another person's point of view. There are ways you could talk about that, but we're at a point where things that are happening in our country are so bad and it comes from Trump. Well, you know who disagrees with you, Mr. De Niro? Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, more than any other Democratic politician, even though he's a registered independent, has gone into conservative areas. He's gone into Mississippi. He's gone into West Virginia, gone into Oklahoma, gone into Kentucky. He's gone into red states. And he's gone into places that large portions of those states disagree with Bernie Sanders, disagree with the progressive movement. And you know what he's done? He's spoken with them. He's spoken to them. He's shown them, wow, this guy actually is saying a lot of smart things that I didn't know about or I didn't think about. This country is polarized, but you don't make it less polarized by going into your corner and saying, I'm not going to talk to that person. I'm not even going to bother understanding their point of view. Now, there are different degrees, right? Am I going to go talk to an Alex Jones supporter? No, I'm not. I don't care what their point of view is, right? So like there are certain levels where you can't level with certain people. It's pointless to try and understand their point of view. But would I go do an interview with a Trump-loving, NRA-loving person? Yeah, I would. Would I go do an interview or go try to talk to people who believe tax cuts for the rich help them as middle-class people? I would. I'd probably inform them of a few things. And I've done that before on the road. So some of the most rewarding interviews I ever did was when I got a blank stare and they said, oh, really? I didn't know that. So I know that, wealthy Robert De Niro doesn't mean anything by it, but when you make statements like, we're beyond the point of caring what other people's point of view is, well, then good luck retaking the White House, Mr. De Niro. Because you want to know something? The reason Trump won was not because of Russia or trolls. It was because a large majority and a large swath of America has been forgotten. A large swath of America has not been talked to. A large swath of America has had their jobs and livelihoods sent to other countries so that corporations could become more rich. And a large swath of America was ready for something different, even though that something different was fraudulent. So when Democratic Party politicians that are establishment and the celebrities that fund them say, it's beyond talking to people like that. If you don't talk to the Trump voter, by the way, there was a lot of people who voted for Barack Obama that went over and voted for Trump, I think 10%. If you don't attempt to talk to those voters like Bernie Sanders, then you are not going to win enough votes to win the election. And somebody saved this video, so if Trump gets reelected, don't say I didn't tell you so. The reason I cover the Democratic Party as hard as I do, the reason that Jimmy covers the Democratic Party as hard as he does, is because we want Trump to be defeated. We want extreme conservatism to be defeated. But if you defeat extreme conservatism with Wall Street, big oil, big pharma, cloaked, fake progressivism, you continue oligarchy. That's how you continue oligarchy. And I do not want oligarchy continued. Thank you for watching. You could get my updates, and you will get exclusive news first by signing up to my email list. We are going to announce the company name and logo through that email list sooner than later. People subscribe to my email list will get the name of the company, the logo, and news first. JordanChariton.com. When you get to JordanChariton.com, put in your email. We're not going to surveil you. We're not going to steal your data. We're not going to send you 25 emails a week. But we want to talk directly to you. We don't want to depend on YouTube. We don't want to depend on Twitter. We don't want to depend on Facebook. We want to have direct line of communication with you so you know what we're working on. So you know when big things are coming, big live streams, big live events, all that. JordanChariton.com, put in your email. Secondly, I'm going to ask you one more time. If you got $2 a month to spare, if you got $5 a month to spare, if you got $10 a month to spare, I really want you to think about what is it worth to you to have a media network that covers real stories and real struggle and real people. What is that worth to you? If you have the $2 a month, if you have the $5 a month, if you have the $10 a month, what is it worth to you? Because yeah, you could give money to other places, and I'm not telling you what to do with your money. But we could sit here and we could complain about the state of the country, or we could help to change it. But it's going to require your help. I hope you consider patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. Thank you for watching.